Hello, East Coasters and beyond. This is
Darcy.
And I'm Andrew. And we are East Coast DNA Podcast. We feature news from the East Coast of Canada, music news and interviews. Except for today, no interviews, just news.
Lately it was mostly interviews.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of news to catch up on, and everyone had a really busy summer, but there's a lot of stuff still to come.
Yeah. And we kind of had a rough week, and everyone's tired, and I'm still sick, and Darcy's transitioning to a new job still, and we had a loss in the house, and everything's kind of, we're just going to reel it in this week and just kind of talk about the news a little bit.
Yeah, but lots of good news anyway.
And I'd like to dedicate the episode to the bestest boy ever, Cosmo. We lost him last week, so.
Yes. Yeah,
there we go. This is his episode.
He's gone.
Yeah. No music for him.
Did you guys do a special dedication on Second Button, being the Cosmo connection with Kramer?
No. The next episode we're doing on Second Button Podcast is the dog episode, which is the worst episode of Seinfeld ever. And it just happens to be that's our next one. And I had to read it. I'm like, can we just not do that one?
Yeah.
Not watch the episode with the dog the whole time and remind me of it the whole time. So
I'll have to make sure to tune in for that one right away.
Yeah.
It should be an interesting one for you.
Yeah. It's a dumbass episode. It just happens to be the one with the dog.
So, yeah, over the summer, anyone following our Instagram had seen quite a few clips of different live shows that we were able to catch over the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Most recently, our father and I went up to the Pictou Dukas Center. We caught Anvil.
Yeah, I was like, who's that old guy? And why is he sitting in front of the other old guy?
Yeah. Yeah, it was quite crazy.
Yeah.
They put on a really good show. I think it was the first metal show that they ever had there.
Yeah, it looked really good.
We had been talking about maybe trying to get a couple heavier bands into our episodes too, because we had gotten away from some of that side of the genres.
Mm-hmm.
So it was nice to kind of get a taste of it again too, going back into the fall.
Yeah. It's been kind of a hip hop summer for the East Coast DNA Podcast. Sorry.
Absolutely. And there's still lots left to pick at that thread too. So, I mean, we don't want to get too far away from it, but we want to try to expand our genre coverage as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And we do have a few bands coming up for some interviews too, but there's also a lot of upcoming shows. We had talked heavily in the early episodes about festivals that were coming up in the summer because we were coming out of lockdowns, and people were being really hopeful for what the summer may have to offer everyone. And now I'm noticing a lot of people posting their final summer shows, just the last couple half dozen shows or so that people are doing around the Maritimes.
Yeah, it seems like we're just talking about summer's coming up. We're going to have some shows starting, and now it's like summer's over. And people are closing it out now. So,
yeah, it flew by. It was fun. I mean, most of those Instagram clips, I guess, are probably mine. So a lot of people probably know exactly what I was up to this summer.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, there's still lots of coming. Today's episode is actually being recorded on the day of, so I can actually say tomorrow. Tomorrow here in Glasgow down at the Monarch Marina, Altered by Mum is coming back, and that features Gina Kennedy, who's originally from Glasgow. I had interviewed her about a year ago for the Jam Sessions podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're back in town tomorrow evening.
And I have some curtains that were altered by Mum.
There you go.
Yeah.
That was kind of a thing that tied in when we were talking, like a double entendre with the name.
Mm-hmm.
But they're a good time. They're a real fun duo, her and her partner. And probably try to go down and catch that for a little bit, assuming that I'm still in Glasgow. I am on vacation this week. Another thing that is happening up in Halifax, Level 8 nightclub, starting at 9:00. There's another hip-hop rap festival concert.
Mm-hmm.
Afro Man's headliner, that's the big poll at Level 8 nightclub, and a friend of the podcast, Mackie, is in the opening lineup.
Is Afro Man Canadian?
I don't think that he is.
No.
But I don't know a lot of his history.
Because I don't see him being allowed to cross the border with that song.
Because that was over a decade ago that song came out. Things are a lot different in the world today as far as
now.
yeah, we're more worried about like COVID and war than whether or not people are smoking weed, I guess, in general.
Worried about the 3 C's: COVID, crabs, and cocaine.
Yeah, there you go. Coming in this weekend too, there's a couple things since I'm talking about Halifax anyway. Gus's Pub has a few good bands playing there. The Bloody Hell, which is known to the podcast, if Ian's been on a couple times, and Columns of Clouds is one that you and I were paying attention to early on too when we were trying to find new bands. They had a lot of stuff going on, so I know that they would be a good time from watching some of their clips online, following their music. Human Missile Crisis and Johnny C are also on that bill. So there's 4 bands for the night. That starts at 8 o'clock. Gus's Pub, Friday, August 26th. And another one that same evening is over at the Seahorse Tavern. It's Sleep Shaker's 10-year anniversary. And sharing stage with Nork and Electric Spoonful. Electric Spoonful is quite well known in the Halifax area especially, but for anyone from our podcast viewer and listenership, that band is fronted by Rudy that was just on for a little bonus there a couple weeks ago because he was in town playing. So yeah, that would also be a really good night out. I'm not sure how much those overlap. I would be tempted to try to catch both shows, but there's probably a lot of overlap, and unless you're really fast while you're having your beers, you might not be able to catch both. But
it is kind of a downhill run though from Gus's to Seahorse.
Yeah. It's possible. So if you cherry pick your favorite bands and happen to know the order they're playing in, you might be able to go back and forth. But I'd have a hard time picking, to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm. They're both good shows.
There's a few things that are coming up into the fall that I had noted too, that are some bigger names coming from away. Metric is coming to Dalhousie and doing like a 2-night thing. So you can go see them on the Thursday or Friday. That's September 1st and 2nd. I think it's at the Rebecca Cone. So that would definitely be a good show. I caught them with my eldest daughter there a couple of years ago, and it was phenomenal show, and I saw them years ago as part of the Virgin Festival when they had it on Citadel Hill.
Oh yeah.
Good show then. They're consistently good, so I'm sure that's a no-brainer for a ticket if anyone's in the area. What else did we have coming up there? Oh, Sarah Harmer's finally coming through. That was like COVID postponed a couple times, I believe. So yeah, she's finally coming down closer to the end of September 24th. 23rd, another thing where she's doing
23rd at the Dalhousie Art Center.
Okay. And Monty's Show Bar Grill. Are you familiar with this venue at all?
No.
Yeah, there's I saw that listed out as well. That's over in Dartmouth. Only Vultures Left, Hogtooth, and Electric Funeral, 50 Years of Black Sabbath. So I'm assuming that that's like a Black Sabbath cover band. I'm not 100% familiar with Electric Funeral, but it's got the Black Sabbath name and 50 Years of Black Sabbath in there. Only Vultures Left is known to Halifax and Pictou County musicians at least, because I know that they're constantly playing and there's some ties in both areas. Hogtooth's another one new to me, but like I said, those are the ones that really capture my attention, is when there's multiple bands on a lineup and I know of one or two, so I know I'm going to have a good night and reasonable ticket prices. There was another one that I had seen too there. Blackmore is coming up to the Seahorse. They're going to be playing, actually that's soon. That's this weekend, 27th. And Diner Drugs that I had mentioned a couple times before from over in New Brunswick, they're coming and playing with them. So that would be a good show as well. Yeah. Rutabaga on that lineup, and Hal Nova, which I don't know. But once again, that's another one that would Diner Drugs coming, so I don't have to travel to New Brunswick would be enough for me to drive up from Pictou County.
Yeah, for sure.
And having Blackmore on there, I've been listening to them a little bit since we get introduced to them through our Kids Losing Sleep interview.
Yeah.
And I do like that, so that would be another good show. Roxy and the Underground Sound, that's another band that has some Pictou County ties, but that's a 6-piece band, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So they're having a 10-year anniversary. So I knew they'd been around for a while. September 2nd is that show, also at the Seahorse, and a couple other Seahorse notables of ones like I said were coming from away.
Yeah.
In November, Limlifters playing on the 3rd, and Matthew Good's playing on November 12th. Yeah. I believe Matthew Good's doing a few more dates around the Maritimes as well.
Limlifters a group I didn't know was still going.
I think that that's like kind of a super group because it was musicians, a couple of them brothers, but it was all people that were in other bands, and they all came together and split up and went into other bands, and there's like an ebbs and flow. So I think that's one of those bands that they may not be together forever, and then all of a sudden they're together.
So they're not broken up, they're just on hiatus.
It's more like a project kind of thing, I think.
Yeah.
But it's a damn good one, that's for sure. It holds up over time.
And Matthew Good's always good. It's in his name. It's
just before, or just at the very beginning of the pandemic, I had seen him at the DeCoste Center, and it was an awesome performance.
And thank the maker, his name wasn't Matthew Not Good when he was born, because that wouldn't have been a good name.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I wouldn't have been inconvenient.
Matthew Good works much better.
Yeah.
So when we talked about kind of off the hip news that we weren't really caught up on because it was kind of happening as we were getting ready to record a couple weeks ago, we mentioned that the commune said they're shutting down. Like it was just like the commune's gone. And then we recorded, and then I don't know, it was later on that evening or if it was like the next day, we found out that Shoebox Studios that was above the commune took over the commune part, and they have the cantina. So
so there's the Shoebox.
People that
cantina.
are used to the commune ambience, it's still there under a different name. And the commune is still going to open something else at some point in Pictou County. But right now, we got the cantina.
And with some shows coming up. To stick to the music news, we will try to bring that information forward when it does come out. But yes, Shoebox Studios has opened Shoebox Cantina, and they do have some live performances. They have some stuff scheduled out on Facebook. The next couple shows that they have there, they have Music Mondays, where they'll have an evening performance. So next Monday would be the 29th. Andre Petitpas will be featured that evening. And then on September 12th, it'd be Matthew Brennan. So those both be very good shows.
Yeah.
Andre would just be just solo with his acoustic kind of a set, but that's always a good time too.
No giants, just the Andre.
Right. Well, there might be some giants in the area. There's at least one that works there. So
yeah, there you go. It's true.
I wouldn't be 100%.
How did you get that gig, Andre?
Yeah. So I'm sure that there's going to be more stuff coming up there. And in our future episodes, when we're doing interviews and stuff, we'll still try to throw a few plugs in for some upcoming shows. We don't have a featured single this week because we want to just stick to the news. But if anyone has anything they want us to plug going forward, by all means, reach out to us. Music Mountain. Now, that's one we didn't talk too much about. I'd reach out to Donnie in the past, see if he maybe wanted to talk about his venue, but I believe, it could be way wrong. Maybe he just doesn't like me, but I think he just doesn't need to advertise too much because I think they sell out every time.
Oh, Music Mountain just sells itself. Yeah.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, the Pictou County area has a village community outside of town here called Thorburn. And just on the outskirts of Thorburn there's a large plot of land owned by Donnie Swallow called Music Mountain. Yeah. And they host music festivals out there. And it always looks like a great time. Early years, I was there a little bit. I haven't been too much for the recent performances. Mike Hatfield, that people know from the Jam Sessions podcast I used to work with, he's hosted his birthday party there the last couple of years and actually had quite a big music bash a few weeks ago for his birthday.
And actually, his birthday is today as we record.
Yeah. So happy birthday, Mike.
If you're listening, Mike, happy birthday.
I think he does listen at least once in a while.
If he's not listening, happy birthday anyway.
Yes, exactly. And if you know Mike and you know he wasn't listening, tell him happy birthday and that he should listen to our podcast.
Mike has a terrible birthday. He's like, why do I have such a terrible birthday? And he's like, And then he listened to our podcast the next day. He's like, well, that's why I didn't listen to the podcast. So I didn't get the birthday wishes.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Music Mountain has another show coming up with a lot of Pictou County favorites, actually. Stonehouse is on that lineup, and Sweet Serene, who we've mentioned recently on this podcast, and Not Like Yesterday, who we've mentioned a couple times as well. And Sweet Serene and Not Like Yesterday, I believe, would both have live clips in our Instagram posts there if anybody wanted to go back through and look. Low Boy, I'm not familiar with that one, I'll admit, so I'm excited to have another band to go dig into. And Jeff Kennedy also on that lineup.
Yeah.
So that one is an interesting one. The show doesn't actually start till 7, but it's a campsite as well. So when you pay to get in, you can camp there for the night. So the gates actually open at 4 and you can go and make a whole day of it.
Yeah.
And usually, I don't know if always, but usually when there's people hanging around and camping and stuff, they usually have a little after hours campfire, and you got musicians in the campfire and guitars. You're probably going to have music and singing.
Yeah.
So that's a good time. Might not be a great place to go for sleep, but it would be a good night out with a tent and some friends. That's for sure. Definitely good music. I'd mentioned our father and I had been up to Anvil. I'd actually, in those clips that I was mentioning too on Instagram, there's been quite a few from the DeCoste Center. I've been frequenting that lately now that they have quite frequent performances up there. And they have a few shows coming up, but the town of Pictou itself really laid into live music performances, tie-ins with their tourism this summer. So the Lobster Carnival was big, but even since the Lobster Carnival, they did some renovations downtown and like prettied it up even more than it normally is.
Yeah.
And there's some outdoor stuff coming up. The DeCoste Center's going under some renovations, getting expansion, library and stuff put in.
Yeah.
So I think they're shifting around it, much like we did with the podcast and changing our format up here and there. They seem to be trying a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
And the common thread in both cases being music, especially local music, just maybe not exclusive to your town, but it's definitely been noticeable, and there's been a lot of big names coming through our community.
They got a draw there.
Yeah. Actually, Christine Martin just did a free show there last week. I just going to see if I have the full lineup here for this next big show coming up in Pictou, the 27th. So that's coming this weekend too. They're having the Love Local Summer Street Fest. So August 27th at 1 p.m. on Water Street. And that's going to have Doris Mason and the Dynamos, which I just caught Doris Mason at the DeCoste Center as well. And it was a packed house.
Yeah. She always draws a crowd too.
Yeah. I mean, Owen Soundley and another fellow were on the lineup there too. It was such a great night. I think I need to spend maybe a week or two in September just writing down all the music that I caught this summer. And it's crazy. And each crowd.
You should make a scrapbook.
I should start a podcast.
You should a scrapbooking podcast. You could live stream building a scrapbook on the podcast Instagram. Go live.
There you go.
If anyone wants to see Darcy scrapbooking, he's got to run down to Dollarama and get some stick glue there and some tape. Was that tape? That tape stuff?
No joke. We're taking this offline. We're going to do some Instagram live streams of me scrapbooking. I'm serious now. I have a pile of stuff sitting over here. I still have a bunch of stuff from Music Week last year. I can put it all together.
We're going to be very successful now after the scrapbooking live stream.
Absolutely.
Good.
So the other people on that same Love Local Summer Street Fest, besides Doris Mason, Judd Gunning, who we've mentioned on this podcast a couple times, just recently with Jay the Kid, because he had done a performance with him. Sean McLean Trio. That'd be Sean that owns Sean's Downtown, which would be a cool little venue to check out sometime. They do some private events. Albert Dunwall, who most people from the Pictou County area would be familiar with. He's and Derek Wilson, same thing. He's been in many, many acts over the years in the Pictou County area. So he's definitely a familiar name. And Stu Marchand. He's another local person that I haven't heard too much new stuff from him in the last few years. He had that Industry Town single out that got some airplay a few years ago. But he's definitely a frequent performer at the local pubs.
Yeah. He's always out somewhere.
They are doing another follow-up in Pictou. There's two. They're doing a Global Voice festival in end of September on the 27th. So it'll be a month from the August one. And that one has Dee Austin, Santified Brothers, Andrew Branch, and the Halfway Tree. A couple bands there for me to check out. Dee Austin, I've seen the name floating around quite a bit. So that should bring a different crowd down there. And like I said, it's nice to see all the different bands coming through. But we have another one a few weeks after that in October, Harvfest. Clever little pun name. I like that. I think these are all new too. I don't remember us ever having any of these. So this is exciting to see what kind of crowds we get. This one is the Kitchen Criminals, which we know some of those people. So they're the podcast is fans of that band for sure.
Yep.
Dave Carroll, Chad Matthews, who's from PEI, and I'm going to have to ask forgiveness in front of this Les Firefly. I don't like to try to pronounce anything French. I have no French accent.
I think it's less fireflies.
less fireflies. Yeah. From New Brunswick.
Les Firefly. I can't do that. It's Les Fireflies.
Yeah,
Fireflies.
I'll work on that between now and October in case we get a chance to meet them.
Yes.
I did reach out to get some extra little information on what may be coming up in the fall here in Pictou County. For September at Glasgow Square, there's an act down there called the Comic Strippers. It looks like it's probably pretty funny.
And that's more comic based, less stripping based, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So I think it's more of the comedy thing, but there's probably a little bit of fleshy man chest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably not anything anybody really wants to look at. No offense to the performers. I think that's part of the joke.
Yeah.
I can't pronounce this one that's coming up at the Wellness Center. I am going to have to look into that more. Shanniganuk. Yeah, I guess we can say it.
Shanniganuk.
And if we can't, please write in and let us know that we're saying it. There's actually, nobody's ever done it, but there's the voicemail option. If anyone goes to our link tree, there's an option to send a little voice memo to us. So feel free to call and correct us if it's not Shanniganuk.
Yeah.
That's a free show that is for members of the DeCoste Center membership. You can get an annual membership. I recommend it if anybody's thinking. I've only recently been going to a lot of shows there. I've gone to a few in the past, but now that I'm going more frequently, I could see how the membership would be very beneficial. You get free shows like that one, and I think you get a BOGO on a lot of tickets as well. So, especially if you're bringing someone with you, I tend to go to a lot of.
You
these
mean you get like a battered hot dog when you go on the door?
Yeah, that's exactly what
BOGO.
It is. Yeah. Pogo.
Oh, Pogo. You're like, where the hell's my corn dog? Like, what are you talking about?
I was going Boca Burger too, so like we were all over the place.
Yeah.
So we'll have to bring food with us to the DeCoste Center because they do not have pogo sticks.
No pogos.
Or Boca Burger.
Awful. You go and everyone's just bouncing everywhere.
Yeah.
On a springy stick, eating a corn dog.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another genre we kind of like more of your traditional and folk, I guess. Evans and Dory. They're huge, but we don't tend to cover a lot of that with our interviews anyway. So maybe that's something to look at in the future. But they're coming.
When we started talking about doing East Coast music podcast, a lot of people are like, "Oh, so like fiddles and stuff." So I think
we shunned away from it on purpose because we wanted to not give what the immediate image was.
Yeah, we didn't want to launch with a lot of folky music because that's what you hear. East Coast music, you hear folky music. So we kind of shied away from that, and we're focusing on other genres that aren't the East Coast, air quote,
exactly
music. Yeah.
But yeah, Evans's Door, you're coming Sunday, September 25th to the Pictou Legion. So that's got to be a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So they're huge. They're known. They are a good time. Good kitchen party type music. So even though I downplay the alcohol and encourage the all ages show, I'm sure that's a good have a beer evening.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's a Supertramp tribute coming up, Dreamer, the Supertramp Experience. That's also coming up to Glasgow Square on Wednesday, the September 28th. And Gordy McKeeman and his Rhythm Boys will be playing at the Marigamish Schoolhouse Community Center on September 30th. I don't know a lot of those areas. I know there's the Marigamish Community Center, and then there's Kensieville, new friend of the podcast, Caden Wang, my friend's son. He actually just played in Kensieville.
Okay.
Would have been not this past weekend, the weekend before. And then that resulted in him having one of the opening slots at the Blacktop Ball this past Saturday with Stan Fields and Andre Petitpas.
And that Marigamish Schoolhouse one, they're kind of, I've seen that name pop up more and more often. They're doing more community stuff. My friend Jamie Dooling teaches yoga there like once a week. Yeah. And I've seen it pop up with other things happening. So it seems like they're actually bringing back the community center feel that.
Well, yeah, they did.
Popular. Yeah.
That's one thing I was going to note is that not recently. I mean, we had 2 years of COVID lockdowns, but in the past, I lived closer to that community in the past as well. But I used to notice that every once in a while in the summer, you'd see like a known name, and I'm like, wow, like this is it's not the middle of nowhere, but you have to know where you're going to find it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So I was surprised, but yeah, it is cool to see that they have stuff out there, and it seems to be consistent. You just got to pay attention.
Yeah.
Which once again, that's another reason why we started the podcast. It's because we have little random bits of information. We don't catch everything, but it's nice to be able to share it so that some of these people have a bigger audience, and then that encourages the event planners to have more events.
And the first month of the podcast, we could catch everything. But then, then everything opened, and then
I know
it went crazy. We couldn't catch up.
I unfortunately the same night as Blacktop Ball, which I did not end up attending, but I also missed out on Contrived played a show up in the city at the Seahorse with Washing Machine.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to Washing Machine's album and really liked it. They're not somebody I'd seen before, but I was disappointed to miss Contrived. I had a great weekend, but it's just that there's so many things happening overlapping.
Yeah.
That it really is. It's not possible to catch everything anymore.
No.
We talked about with our festivals where everything was overlapping, and now it seems like a whole month just blew by since then, and it hasn't slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, maybe where you're closer to the Halifax area too, maybe you know a little bit more than me, but they also have that Grand Oasis finale this weekend, where they had the free shows in Halifax all summer down in Parade Square.
Yeah.
So there is more stuff happening this weekend. I do know that there's like a free April wine show, but you need a ticket for it. There's a couple other bands playing. That is that Friday evening?
Yes.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like the biggest fireworks show in ages up there.
Oh, the fireworks is Saturday evening.
Is it?
Matt
So that's when the April one
is. Matt Anderson's Friday evening.
There you go. So good weekend to be in the city too.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff going on at the Grand Parade at Alderney Landing and on the waterfront, and the fireworks. It should be there's a big party weekend.
There's a like citywide Alice in Wonderland escape room going on this weekend too. I'll be doing that on Saturday.
Cool. I was going to ask you, I did see when I was going through my notes, Alice in Wonderland popped up a couple times, and I knew that your wife is a fan, so I was going to write you, but I didn't see the music connection. I skipped it to go back to figure out what it is later. So now I know.
Yeah, I'll be doing that. And Aroma Mayo to Go is having Alice in Wonderland weekend. I think you sent me that link initially.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of tying in with that event. So
cool.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Was a shift from...
Go ahead.
No, I thought you were... Go ahead.
Yeah, just a couple other events that I want to mention that were coming up too. There's another one here in Pictou County. the Westville Miners Sports Center is having a Westville Rink fundraiser, and that is going to feature Frail, which the lead singer is Jeff from the Jam Sessions podcast, and Adam McBain, who we've mentioned in this podcast a few times as well. So that should be a good night. Anyone in the area, that runs from 9 till midnight on September 24th.
Yes. I thought we skipped over that, and then you went back, and that's why.
I just wanted to make sure I highlight it separate. Give Jeff a little bit of a note there. And Max has been pretty good to promote some of our podcast stuff with likes and shares and stuff too. So
yeah, for sure.
Like to support the boys back. We do have some music coming up that we're pretty excited to hear, but like I said, we skipped the single for this episode. One notable thing that I actually have written down beside me is that Cluttered announced a new EP is coming in October.
Yes.
So
I'm excited to hear that.
Hopefully we'll circle back to them. And I mentioned that we do have a couple interviews tentatively lined up for the next couple months. So we'll be back into that format relatively quickly. But another thing that we kept mentioning all year was Nova Scotia Music Week, that we intend on being there the first week of November.
And Music Week is where we really got our start for the podcast. Working with the Jam Sessions podcast, we did interviews, met a lot of local people. That's when I knew local music, but I was like, there's a lot more variety here than I was aware of.
Yeah. When I was working with Jam Sessions, I was looking to kind of spread into some different directions, and they were doing their own thing. So I was kind of looking to do a little bit different. And like you said, your eyes were quite open as we were running around and people were coming back and forth from the room. It seemed like every time I left the room, I met another dozen people. Yeah. It's a good time. And everyone was great. So it really did birth this. Yeah. So it is nice almost a year later to be seeing what's coming up and know that we're going to be part of it again. And we have the connections with people so that we can slide right in there and not be going in a ball full of nerves wondering who all these strangers are that we're going to spend time with.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, we had a big news for us yesterday that ties in with our news and with this topic. And I think you probably have all the details right in front of you if you want to take it away.
So the nominations came out for the Nova Scotia Awards. And we're on that list, but we'll get to us. I'm going to do a quick run through here. It's on our screen if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're listening on Spotify with the video, it'll be there as well. But the whole list is there. Some names we know under the African Nova Scotian Artist of the Year Award. Got Haley Smith, Jody Upshaw, Lavender, Rennie Smith, and Zamani. And we featured some of those artists over the last year on our podcast as well.
That was another thing that was nice going into it this year. Like, I was aware of the artists, but it was a nicer feeling going this year that, like, the podcast knows some of these people and the podcast is known to some of these people. So it's nice to see that some of the people we've been interacting with are doing really well.
Yeah. And the Americana Bluegrass Recording of the Year, Aaron McDonald, Cheval, Gabriel Minikin, Steve McIntyre, and Willie Stratton. We haven't had any of those on the podcast. We haven't focused on any really bluegrass. We did reach out. Oh, no, it wasn't through this podcast. I did reach out to at least one of them through the old one, but there's a couple there that I wanted to circle to. Yeah, for sure. Classical Recording of the Year, Catherine Little, Chimera Trio, India Gailey, Jennifer King, and Maureen Bate.
I believe Maureen is a listener of the podcast as well.
I think I noticed that name around Instagram or something. Country Recording. Someone we definitely know is Charlie Acord in Wichita.
Yes. He was very supportive when we were there last year for Music Week, and came in and spent some time with us and gave some promo stuff. And I just caught him a couple weeks ago. Another really good show.
And follow him on Twitch.
Yeah.
He pops up and does some performances there once in a while.
Yeah. He's really good with I'm only an Instagram user as of November of last year. And so having a 19-year-old daughter, she kind of was persuading me to not get into social media that way. But Charlie's really adept at it. He made me feel better.
Yeah, exactly. And then also in that list, we have Farewell Town, Ken Ward, Lisa Richard, and Thomas Staster. I can't pronounce that. Stajacer. I was working on it and I just never.
We'll have him on and ask him. I've been threatening to do a country episode. It was almost today. So
yeah,
there you go.
And if not, if you're listening, you can call in and let us know how you say your name.
Yeah, use that voice memo thing. Send it to us.
DJ of the Year, Cloverdale, Hans Oons, Karate Cactus, Finio and Loeb, and Troy Power. Electronic Artist of the Year. There's a repeat here with Cloverdale. Christian Martel.
Which that would be because of the remix that she just
yeah.
featured with the episode. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Nicole Ariana.
And I had met her last year. She her video that she had out when we were at Music Week last year was actually directed by Gavin, who we've mentioned.
Yes. Friend of us. Not just a friend of the show.
Friend of us, yeah.
Friend of us. And Once.
Yes, another tie-in with Gavin. They used to be in Glory Glory together.
And then there's Entertainer of the Year, which is a lot of the repeats as well. It's a big list.
Yes. This one is actually, for anyone listening, we did briefly mention a nomination that Andrew's getting to with us in it, but most of these, you have to be a Music Nova Scotia member in order to go in and vote. But I believe this Entertainer of the Year is the one that is a public vote. So
that one is a public vote. Okay.
Yeah, we can add the link to the public vote into our show notes as well.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, we'll add a link to both because a lot of Music Nova Scotia members are listening.
True. So we have Atane Jax, Daniel James McFadden, Lavender, Neon Dreams, Nicole Ariana, Rich Coin, The Town Heroes, Wants, Willie Stratton, and Zamani. That's a big list. I don't know. Get in a vote on
that list. I've seen over half of that list live, and I've seen online clips for the ones that I haven't personally seen live. That is a tough category.
Yeah. I'm just reading through them. It'd be hard to vote for one. Can you vote for three? Can you vote for three?
Honestly,
and kind of give you your.
I think it's a daily vote, so you could vote for your top three and spin it around or something. Because I really don't know. If you told me I could have a concert ticket to any one of those acts and it was tonight, so I can only go to one, I don't know which one I'd pick.
Yeah, exactly.
Do I want to see somebody that I haven't seen before, but I know they're good, or do I want to see somebody that's consistently good, so I know it's going to be a good time? Or so much there, and they all have great new music out too. So it's definitely a tough category. I'll be interested to see who wins
for sure. And the folk roots recording of the year, Blue Lobelia. I'm not sure how to pronounce that either. Lobella. Daniel James McFadden, Dave Carroll, Eric Stephen Martin, and Isabella Sampson.
And Isabella, I just met her at the Jubilee when they had the all ages Songwriter Circle in the afternoon there.
That was a good time too, right? The Songwriter Circle.
Oh yes, that was. Do more of those, Pictou County. An outdoor Songwriter Circle in the afternoon. Yes. Awesome idea. We have the weather, we have the space, and we have the community to support it. We definitely should be doing more of those.
For sure. Hip hop recording of the year. Ghetto Socks DX. Sorry, I had a voice drop there. Harms, Lavender, Mo Money Matteo, and Wyfilla. Indigenous Artist of the Year. Dee Austin, Girl, Lil New Joker. Would that be Lil New?
I think so.
Yeah. Matt Muse and Shift from the 902, which I think is probably my favorite name in that list.
Yes, that's one that shows up quite a bit. Dee Austin, I started seeing quite a bit last year too. So those are all these categories are tough.
Yeah.
And Dee Dee's one that I said is coming here to Pictou too. So that's nice to see.
Yes. Yeah. Jazz recording of the year. We have Baru's. I don't know. Look on the screen if you guys are watching.
Yeah.
But I don't want to slaughter that last name, so I apologize. Brian McConnell.
You could have pronounced it Brain to make up for the first name.
Yeah, Brain McConnell.
Yeah.
Karen Myatt, Sam Wilson, and Vesivus Big Band. I don't really know much of them, but I don't listen to a lot of jazz.
I feel like I should have made a Vulcan reference when you said Sam Wilson. Tie it into the MCU a little bit.
Yeah. Loud recording of the year.
Yes, this one is... I had mentioned recently that I hadn't been listening to as much heavy music lately, but when I looked at this lineup, in the past, I always looked to find new heavy bands.
Mm-hmm.
And this time I looked and I went, holy crap, I know all of them. They're all really good.
Yeah, they're all there. We have Botfly, Electric Spoonful, Feathers and Anvils, No, It's Fine, and Shadow of Everest. And when we first started the podcast, that's when I first heard of No, It's Fine. And I was like, that name's fantastic. I just appreciate the name.
The names last year that we learned, because through Music Week and podcasting, it was No, It's Fine and Good Dear Good were my two favorite names for East Coast bands.
Mm-hmm.
It was just fun.
Music video of the year. I'm just going to list the artist names.
Sure. And you know what? I guarantee that these are going to be in our YouTube companion playlist today because of the music video of the year. Of course, we're going to put them in there.
Yeah, they'll all be in there. Advocates of Truth, Awoke, Kin Crew, Maggie Andrew, and Neon Dreams. And there are also names that we have talked about in the last year as well. So.
Yeah.
Musician of the year, we have Cassie Mann, Claire McDonald, Caitlin Bonomo, Mika Smith, and Rennie Smith. Don't know if they're related. I didn't look into that.
Probably because
it's not a very common name, Smith.
Well, when Rennie was playing here in Glasgow, she introduced her whole band, and they're all related. Brothers, sisters, cousins.
All the Smiths. New artist recording of the year. Advocates of Truth, Dee Dee Austin, Keeper E, Laura Ray, and Moonwalker. Pop recording of the year. Advocates of Truth, Ate and Jax, Keeper E, Mitch Curry, and Pillow Fight. And a lot of these names that keep repeating are names that we've known and want to get to know in future episodes.
The rock recording of the year is the next one you're doing.
Yeah,
that's another. I mean, I'm obviously showing that I do like the heavier stuff, despite we haven't been covering all of it. But the rock recording of the year, that I would trade the ticket if I could just have the albums from all these people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Andre Petitball and the Giants, June Body, Safe Word, Town Heroes, and We Should Have Been Plumbers.
So we did interview Connor from June Body as part of the Jam Sessions podcast there last year.
Yes. Yeah.
And we've had Andre Petitball on, and we've had We Should Have Been Plumbers on. So I guess that means the Town Heroes and Safe Word. We've mentioned Safe Word. They were in one of our early TikTok bloopers.
Yeah, we mentioned Town Heroes too.
Yeah, so those two we're going to have to circle around to as guests on the show at some point.
Mm-hmm. If you're listening, give us a call.
Yes.
There's a French category here.
You're going to skip it? I already... There's a good one there. How about I do part? Sluice and Peanut Butter Sundae. And Micah Vick.
And Petite Bellevue. And
good job.
Yvette D'Entremont.
Nailed it.
The SoCan Songwriter of the Year. Dee Dee Austin, Kin Crew, Nicole Ariana, Once, and Zamani.
See, that's another,
it's another category.
There's no obvious winner in most of these categories.
No.
Sometimes there is. I mean,
and I think looking through this list, it shows it shows the variety that we have, but also the sheer amount of talent. Because if you pick 5 to 10 people for a category and you can't pick one out of those to vote for, then we obviously have talent floating around this end of Canada that should
Yes.
be known more across Canada. So.
Mm-hmm.
Traditional Roots Recording of the Year, Adam Young, Melina Coolin, who we had on a couple months ago, and Shannon Quinn. And then there's a bunch of other awards that are industry award nominees. So we have Artistic Development Award, and that's the nominations there are African Nova Scotia Music Association, Jones and Company, La Fédération Culture Acadienne de la Nouvelle-Écosse. I think I sounded like I had an accent when I read it there.
You were getting close.
Yeah. The nanny's blood was coming out there.
Cape Breton French, yeah.
Yeah. Sonic Entertainment Group and Soundbox Music. Emerging Industry Professional of the Year, we have Chris Ritchie, Dylan Jewers, Aaron Fraser, Kevin Beal, and Mika Smith. Again. That name's going to be well known, I think, soon.
Yes.
Live Sector Award, we have the Acoustic Roots Festival, Blueberry Jam, which is probably my favorite name in that list.
It just happened too. If you I wasn't there, so we don't have clips on the Instagram, but if you go around and look, there's a lot of stuff out there from it.
It's just a good name.
Mm-hmm.
And you wait, we're going to sell our jam with our branding on it too. You have to stay tuned for that. We got to find out how to make jam first. And
yes.
Making Waves, presented by Sydney Credit Union, Sonic Concerts, and TD Halifax Jazz Festival. And then we have Recording Sector Award, Chris Thomas, Corey LaRue, Scott Ferguson, Matrix Entertainment, The Golden Palm, and Thomas Statzer.
No, I don't know all those, but I know the Golden Palm does some podcasts as well.
Yes.
They do some of the production.
Sound Tech or Production Award. My voice is leaving. If you guys have been listening all along, I'm not healthy yet. It's been
we're nearing the end of this episode based on Andrew's health.
Yeah, I'm getting near 6 months of this and it's driving me crazy. All right, we have Corey LaRue, Jordan Metro, Peter Green, not the famous guitar player, but Peter Green.
Maybe, but no.
It might be. Doesn't Kurt Hammett own his guitar?
Probably.
Scott Ferguson and Trevor De Souza.
Yes, from Old Blood.
And then the final category we're going to read off here is the Media Arts Award. We have CBFM, Cape Breton's favorite radio station. Israel Econom. Do you know what Israel does?
I don't know Israel.
And Katie Kelly as well. And we should really look into these people and link them so people have a fair voting on who they're voting on.
Yes. People know Katie Kelly from CTV News.
Yeah.
And the shout out from our podcast that she received from Jay the Kid a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
Most people are familiar with her because of the shout out on our podcast.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah. The Coast, 89.7.
That's
FM.
the community radio station that does the countdown that I check out every week there too. So that's a good one. I'm a fan of that. I don't always listen to the show, but I always reference their notes and their list of charts and all the artists that they're following because there's a strong overlap because we're the same region.
Yeah, exactly. And then the last nomination in the Media Arts Award category is East. I don't know how to say this one either. East Coast DNA podcast. Oh, that's us. East Coast DNA podcast. The East Coast Darcy and Andrew podcast is a nominator for the Media Arts Award. So we're not really showing favorites while we read these off.
Reach around and pat you on the back there a little bit.
But we were definitely showing a favorite one in this category. So if you are a member and you'd like to vote, we definitely would appreciate the vote.
I think that we have a few listeners that may. Mm-hmm. So it would be nice. It is an honor. I posted that on Facebook.
It's really nice to be nominated there.
Yeah, just to be there at all.
Because you need a couple people to say it before you're actually nominated.
Right.
It wasn't like mom called them and said put them on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
She may have called them, but they wouldn't have listened to her.
After we shared the announcement, we had a few people reach out to ask how they could support us in that way. But you do have to be a Music Nova Scotia member in order to vote in that category. So So yeah, exciting news. We're going to be there either way.
Yeah.
So
we'll have a presence at that. And
yeah. And if you voted for us and then you see us there at Music Week, stop by and say hi. And if you don't vote for us and you see us there, just don't tell us and stop by and say hi anyway.
Or just keep walking.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll still say hi.
Definitely stop by and say hi, because all these categories that I've read through, they're all really tight competition.
Absolutely.
And except for us being the underdog in ours, but everything else is tight competition. So
yeah,
it'd be hard to go through that list and actually start your voting. So
for sure. And our playlist today, as a companion to go with this episode, I'll throw together a couple playlists and link them in that are some of the bands that we see that are coming up. I like to make primer playlists before shows so that I can sing along.
Yeah.
So I'll do that for the show for our listeners, and maybe over the next couple of weeks we'll dive in a little more on some of the Music Week categories, because that was a plan that we had to kind of do a Road to Music Week series. So we'll start working that into our playlist.
Yeah, for sure. And if you guys want to know more about who you're voting, I mean, if you want to know more about us,
yeah,
you can find our link tree down in the description here. It's Linktree East Coast DNA, and you can find all our links there to our Instagram, TikTok. And we're mostly busy on Instagram and Facebook group. We're kind of meta.
We monitor everything enough that we'll notice it if you write us.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just that the ones that have the higher traffic are definitely Facebook and Instagram at this point.
For sure.
But if you write me on TikTok, I'm still going to see your message and write you back.
And I'm going to be like, how does this TikTok work again?
The Talk-a-Text.
Or if you want to find more of me on TikTok, you can look up Andrew's Alcove on TikTok.
Yes, Andrew has his own.
Name that riff. But yeah, that's it for this week. A lot of news, a lot of talking. If you're still awake, then
yes,
go find us online somewhere and give us a like, follow, subscribe, share, whatever you got to do. We are not playing out a song this week. Darcy and I had a discussion, and with all this nomination stuff, we didn't really want to show favorites there. And we're just going to kind of end it off with a little bit of a goodbye.
Yeah, so check out the playlist later, and goodbye for now.
And see you in 2 weeks.